I'm happy to see you today. We are going to speak about classification, especially some famous method called KNN, and we are going to do it from scratch without coding. And this is very important to encourage everyone to take the advantage of machine learning without having to be a programmer, as usually people think of machine learning must be computer science people to take the advantage of it. So let's proceed. So as we can see in machine learning, computer start learn from your data. So the data looks like the school where your computer, your algorithm, your program will go and start learn about it, and then after a while he can know everything about it, and then you can start asking him about some new information and then he can answer you. So it's very interesting to take this note into consideration, because the student now is the computer, and he is going to read about your data and consider it very carefully, and then you can start asking him. So classification is one of the type of machine learning, and it's called supervised learning. So supervised learning means you have to have a student who is going to learn and some supervisor who is going to teach. So the data is the supervisor itself and the computer is the student. So as we can see, this is the student and the data are the teacher or the professor, the supervisor who is going to teach him. So here we can just note labeled data. Labeled data means I have some information like solved example or something that I know. So for example, I have a number of animals and I label them with dog or cat. So I have here 2 dogs and 2 cats, and then my computer will learn about them. Then I would ask him about something new or a different animal, and he can say this is a dog or a cat. Okay, this is what we are going to see now. Good. So very interesting here. The new example, it's a cat, but it's not typical cat like the other one. So when the computer is asked to see some new object like this, he's going to try to compare it to what he knows before, and this depending on the classification method. So today we are going to speak about something called the KNN, and I'm going to base very basic algorithm. It's not very efficient, but it is very simple, and he is going to compare this new object to the labeled data he has before. So we have 4 animals. He is going to compare this animal to every one of them. So let's proceed. So this is exactly what is going to happen in KNN. KNN means K, it's a number, nearest neighbor or neighbors. Okay, so I'm going to see this cat, this orange cat is close to which example, and maybe I can just determine K to be equal 3. So maybe I can just say it's close to this 3, as we are going to see, and from this I can say there are 2 cats and 1 dog or 3 cats, so it must be like the majority of them, it must be a cat. So what is the steps you are going to follow? I'm going to compare my new object with all old object or all labeled data. So here I have 3 similarities or 4 similarities. Distance, you can say distance or similarity, and then I'm going to take the smallest 3 because I determine K equal 3. So in this case I am going to take the yellow, blue green, and I'm going to leave the red because it's the farthest one, or it is very dissimilar to each other. So I would end up with 3 animals, 2 cats and 1 dog. This is why I can say it is close to this animal, and this will be the final answer the computer is going to tell us. So let's see. Here I take this distance and I try to order them. I take the top minimum 3 of them, and then I return back to this 3 object and say count them like they are 2 cats and 1 dog, and then I can take the majority. The majority here is cat because I have 2 cats and 1 dog, and now I can just answer very easily like it's a cat. So this is how it goes. Okay, this method is very easy, but it takes so much time, or it consumes so much time. So I am going to talk about some other methods later on, and then you can just make your mind which method you can use at which time. This method is very simple that I can apply it in basically in Excel sheet without doing too much code. So let's see how can we do it. So here we have some formula that can be used to compute the distance, and this formula is very simple. You can just use small, as you can type it in here, small, and then you can say here some range, and then here some value. So it's going to tell you this is, for example, if this is the minimum one, it will return 1. If it's the second minimum one, it will return 2. So it tell you what is the order of this value inside this range, and this is very interesting. So basically we are going to use this formula to make sure that we compare our value here, the distance, to the value that say this is the minimum one or this is not the minimum one. So basically I am going to observe here value. If it's X or O, means this is the neighbors, this is the nearest neighbor. So then I am going to just say compare how many X's and how many O's, and then I can just write X or O. So it's very easy to use this formula. Maybe the most interesting thing is small function. Possibly the second thing that can be interesting, COUNTIF, which this formula can be used to count number of X's and count number of O, and to compare what is the majority of them, and then it can just telling you the answer down there. The answer is the majority are the more X's or more O, so this can be the answer. Okay, so here we can just maybe you can replace or change the value of the test point, the triangle. Maybe I can just change it. Maybe I can change the height or change the age, and then I will find my triangle move up and down, and then I can just observe the number of points around it. K as well, I can just change it to some number like odd or even. Sorry, like it should be odd. So to make sure that the number of cases you can have just one of them bigger than the other. You cannot have them both of equal to each other. So like this I can just make sure that I can use the best information I have. So here I have just tried some example like 195, and then the triangle is very high, and then I can just say the majority now are O because they are 4O and 1X. I can do some other changes, maybe some other place, for example something in here, here, so it's something like 130 centimeter and 15, so something like this. The triangle will appear here now, and then you can find the minimum value, the nearest value. So you will have something like this, 2 x's and 3 o, so you can just say it's o. So something like this, the algorithm can be very easily to do. Okay, thank you.